How do we make decisions? Surely we're driven by some criteria. You weigh the cost benefits of the options and then pick the higher value, right? But what do you consider valuable and how do you measure it? If you've studied economics, value to you is probably value for money. Simple, you can put a number on almost everything using that equation. And if you've studied finance, you can even estimate the risk measured as probability of a future amount of money to compute value. We've figured it out. Except that this is not exactly how a human makes decisions. The human brain represents subjective value using a common currency of reward. That means, neuroscientifically speaking, that winning money can be as valuable as being touched with tender care or smelling freshly baked cookies. Perhaps one of the reasons for tremendous wealth inequality is because that narrow definition of value in economics and finance is not really based on how humans behave and function, with our computationally limited brain capacity. And it doesn't even consider the interdependencies of our lives and needs in the biological ecosystem. For example, did you know that women are more generous than men in donating to charities, partly because, in comparison to men, women's brains release more dopamine when sharing money rather than keeping it? Fascinating, isn't it? Unfortunately, very few of these facts about human nature are taught to future business and finance decision makers. But the time is ripe to expand the concepts of value and wealth, especially in a city that prides itself in championing the definition of sustainable finance. When I teach neuroscience of decision making, many students are surprised to discover that emotions contain critical information for representing value that is not always consciously known. Understanding human nature makes them reevaluate not only emotions, but also the whole idea of the deciding agent. Are we homo economicus or homo sapiens? There is great power in the stories we tell. Long ago, we didn't know how humans made decisions and had to rely on scanty assumptions without neuroscientific, psychological, and evolutionary evidence. But we now have access to such verified knowledge and the power to tell it the way it is. I believe that we need to feel part of nature to start caring for it. Human nature also needs to become part of the value equation. Value is not simply value for money to the human brain, and neuroscience shows that there is value in aesthetic experiences, in giving, and in being cared for. Yes, money is power, but it is also an invention designed by human beings to increase collaboration between strangers. In the words of Frans de Waal, I think it is time to stop this anthropodenial in business courses and educate the decision makers of the future about what they really are. My talk will show how teaching neurofinance can expand the narrative of value and guide future decision makers to manage human wealth more sustainably.